Star Wars news to get through today, and other movie news, including a sequel to The Demolition Man that might be happening, or also it sounds like could just as easily not be happening. And then also in the video game realm, there's news on the new Lord of the Rings Gollum game to discuss. But first, I want to let you guys know about a big event coming up this Thursday. All of you Xbox fans, IGN will be streaming the Inside Xbox Game Preview event. That's Thursday, this May 7th at 7:30 a.m. Pacific. Make sure to come join us, see what new games Xbox will be showing off for the Xbox Series X, and we'll be wrapping everything with our pre- and post-show coverage. Once again, that's this Thursday, May 7th, 7:30 a.m. Pacific. Hey guys, what do you think about this new...
Now the galaxy can get weird again, and you can open up that world to creative, interesting one-off stories. And Taika Waititi is the perfect person to tackle something like that. My fear is that Disney has worked with people with great comedic chops before to direct their Star Wars movies, and then replaced them with Ron Howard when they got too funny or weird. And so,
okay, but in all fairness, I think Solo turned out pretty well. I actually like Solo.
I totally agree.
All things considered, I think that movie turned out pretty well.
Completely agree. That said, there has been sort of like a running theme with a lot of these movies where they have major production problems, and I'm really hoping that now that they can sort of like look at this as like more of a sort of blank canvas, they won't get in his way and they'll let him do his thing.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Brian, on that, because even the like anthology films, obviously the like sequel trilogy had a lot resting on its shoulders that it had to deal with, but even the anthology films they were doing during that time with Rogue One and Solo were very tied to like the most important Star Wars stuff. Now that they've like put that saga to rest for now, I have that same hope, and them jumping into the High Republic era in books and comics this fall gives me hope that they're willing to get a little weirder and do stuff that's more one-off and doesn't have to also be tied to the most important stuff. And he's a great choice for something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say we have a visual proof of what he can do in this universe with The Mandalorian, which is not only something where he voices a character, but he also directed an episode. So, like, he makes a good Star Wars already.
Before we get any further, I just want to point out to our producers that are working behind the scenes, if they don't have eyes on chat, apparently there's an issue with sound where if you have all of us on screen at once, there's no sound. It's only if they are zoomed in on one of us. So maybe that's something they can take a look at. But anyway, getting back to this new Taika Star Wars movie, I loved Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
So like that's and then I also just saw Jojo Rabbit recently, so I'm like, all right, this guy's great. I'll totally see his Star Wars movie.
Damon, have you seen Hunt for the Wilder People?
No.
Oh my God, yeah. So
you should see that.
Movie's incredible. It's utterly charming, and it also that along with Jojo Rabbit shows me that he could make a really interesting Star Wars movie that is hyper focused on just a small cast of characters rather than this sort of like galaxy sweeping opus of 100. You know, if you look at The Rise of Skywalker, there was like a new character introduced every 4 seconds, and it was just a lot. So it'd be really cool to see him do something that's a little more smaller scaled, give him 2 or 3 characters and put them on a weird planet together, and they have to figure out a way to get off or something like that. Get off the planet.
Give us the Kanji Club movie.
Dude, yeah.
Guessing which characters he should take on. But like my issue with Star Wars is that it's so deeply connected to the point where even like the Clone Wars, which I haven't finished watching, takes place basically like 10 minutes before Anakin Skywalker kills a bunch of children. And so like every single thing in that movie, like any writer who comes up with an idea for Star Wars, they're like, I want to write a Han Solo story. And they're like, sorry, he was out to lunch on Dathomir that day. And you're like, okay, well, I want to write a story about Lando. And they're like, you can't because he was over here. Like there's a massive wall that basically just says that everybody's busy at all times. And so instead of like getting stories leading up to, how all these characters lived and died, I want him to do something just completely removed from everything where you don't even care about the timeline. Like it'd be great if at one point one of them looks up and they see like a Death Star blow up and they're like, that was weird. And they just keep going. Like they're so removed from everything. Ewoks, basically.
Yeah.
I guess it remains to be seen how much interest there is in the broader Star Wars universe beyond the Skywalker family to like the general movie going audience, right?
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. I mean, I think that they need to do sort of like it took DC a couple years to figure out this cinematic universe thing isn't totally working for us. It's sort of pigeonholing us into a creative corner. And then they dropped something like Joker and Shazam and, even Birds of Prey, which I thought was fun.
Yeah.
And they go, maybe these don't really have to be part of a big sweeping thing. And it's just some interesting stories.
Yeah.
But even then, like to the point of wanting to get people involved in something they're not already invested in with the Skywalker Saga. I mean, Marvel making Iron Man, like of course now he is the biggest superhero in the world, but when they first made a movie of Iron Man, he was not a like mainstream in the same way that Spider-Man or the X-Men are.
Yeah, I thought when they announced that, I was like, oh, okay, Iron Man, that sounds like it's gonna lose a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, if you grew up reading comics and collecting Marvel cards and toys and stuff like that, Iron Man was like a D tier dude. Like he was cool as hell, but you never saw him front and center in any like hero pose, right? I always think about somebody like Ant-Man. Like when we got his first movie posters, it was all of the Avengers, and then he was on their shoulders really tiny because they were just like the Avengers, Ant-Man. Like they had to get you in the theaters, and then by the time Endgame came out, that was practically an Ant-Man movie. Like he was in like 40% of that movie. It was awesome.
Brian, what are you drinking?
This is a Hyperspace Hazy IPA.
Yes,
really good one, Damon. I think you would dig it.
I should have come prepared for the show.
We gotta get some beers when the world gets back to normal.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds great. This makes me so who knows when Taika's Star Wars movie will be finished. I'm sure it's years out. It makes me wonder what some of the other Star Wars projects that have been announced that we haven't gotten any updates on. Like once upon a time, Rian Johnson was supposed to be creating his own trilogy, right? In the Star Wars universe. But then, of course, the Last Jedi debacle happened, and then it's like since then he said it's still in the works, and they haven't ever canceled it, but. But then
the Rise of Skywalker then happened.
Yeah,
exactly. And you gotta like I loved The Last Jedi from minute one. I've gotten a lot of hate for that, but like
same
people have come around a little bit more. I mean, it definitely still has its haters. Don't get me wrong, and that's fine. Like what you like and don't like what you don't like. Whatever. I'm not here to try to change your mind, but like the reaction to The Last Jedi almost seems small in comparison now to how much people think The Rise of Skywalker ruined the end of Star Wars.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of a middle act, it's to this day, like, I don't think it's a perfect film by any means. I think it's got a lot of problems. But I think that like people's biggest issues with The Last Jedi, I can't believe we're talking about this again.
That wasn't my intent.
No, it's okay. It's the way a lot of fans sort of thought in their eyes that the movie mishandled the way that they wanted to see their characters exist. And that's totally fair because people came in with preconceived notions of what they wanted to see. But very few people walked out of that movie being like, it's ugly, the cinematography is terrible, the editing is bad, the sound is bad. Like structurally, on a technical level, that movie is excellent. And so if you take those sort of chops and you apply them to a part of Star Wars that people don't have an entire 40 years worth of baggage of connective tissue to, they can just go, okay, well, here's this guy with amazing that's really cool in a universe I like that doesn't necessarily like gimp Luke Skywalker or make Princess Leia Mary Poppins through space.
Yeah.
And Ryan is also Johnson is coming off. We're good friends, Ryan and I.
Yeah.
He's coming off of
RJ.
the success. RJ, as he likes to be called. He's coming off the really, really goodwill of Knives Out. Like I think
Yep.
even people like obviously there was the downfall of the discussion after The Last Jedi, where a lot of people started to maybe a little bit too much get angry at the dude. But he now has come off from Oscar nominations and a critical and box office success, and I think he's earned a lot of like goodwill back that he may have lost.
Sure.
Yeah.
My biggest problem with the new trilogy is it didn't follow the rules of good yes and improv.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's no actually, and then another
Right,
no
no
actually.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I mean it's the last movie basically just constantly anytime anything was like threatening, they were like, no, just kidding. Like it constantly undermined. Like Chewbacca blew up. No, he didn't. They're like
No. Hey, we had the
C-3PO was
Jedi.
like, I'm
Remember
gonna
that?
get one last look at my friends. They're like, no, you're not. You're gonna see them for another 100 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll see if Ryan Johnson's trilogy comes to light. And then there's the Kevin Feige project that was announced
Oh,
late
right.
last summer, I think. He's
Yeah.
supposed to be developing a Star Wars movie.
Yeah,
It's like-
and so on top of that, there's the Cass Andor TV show, the Obi-Wan TV show. There's another TV show they announced. It's sort of like more female focused.
Yeah, they
and
just
those are-
confirmed that today. Yeah.
Yeah, and those are all live action. And then I think that's all the movies that we know about. And then
As of
whatever
right
they
now, because sorry, go ahead.
no, and then plus whatever they open up with the whole High Republic thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the High Republic definitely feels like a test bed to see if people key into that. My guess would be because I think there are currently like 3 Star Wars movies dated for like 2022, 24, and 26. Honestly, at this point, Feige's may be the closest to happening just because that dude knows how to get movies made. Like I don't think
Yeah.
he's writing or directing, but as a producer, he knows how to get stuff done. And so I wouldn't be surprised if that's one of the earliest ones, given that Taika is already agreed to Thor: Love and Thunder, which is set for early 2022. My guess is his movie wouldn't be for till after that.
Yeah, I mean, he was hypothetically working on Akira too, right?
I was just gonna say, yeah.
Yeah.
That got shelved for Thor.
Okay.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like the initial discussions. Yeah.
Yeah, because Damon, you're a huge fan of Akira, just like I am. Like, I feel like every 6 months, a bunch of rumors come up about a bunch of like. At some point, like, wasn't Tom Cruise involved or like?
Yeah.
It's sort of the anime version of the Uncharted movie.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. There's actually a bunch of more Star Wars announcements to get through today. Today we got some surprise DLC for Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which is very nice to hear. I liked that game a lot. You guys fans of that game?
Oh
Yeah, I
yeah,
like that
big
game.
time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We got new cosmetics today, a new mode called Battle Grid, and new combat challenges. I think you can go to different areas on the different planets. And do you guys understand it as like a horde mode where you face off against waves of different enemies?
Yeah,
That
it's
seems to be the gist.
Yeah.
totally. It's interesting because when I first played this game at E3 last year, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
had to be.
last year.
That's the way they basically warmed us up to the combat in this game was
Right.
they created this sort of fake rooftop scenario where you fought waves of enemies, and it was actually really fun. And I wasn't in the final version of the game, so it seems like they sort of took that and
Yeah.
fleshed it out a lot and kind of kit bashed it with the combat arena that's already baked into the narrative of the game as is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
which is
that's
cool.
right. I totally forgotten about that. And then the challenges will include unique parameters like you can't heal yourself or you have to take no damage. And then the battle grid mode sort of lets you set up your own challenges and place enemies where you want them. I don't know. It sounds kind of cool. Then alongside that is these cosmetic rewards, and then this sort of a new game plus mode. I think they call it New Journey Plus, that lets you carry over all your unlocked cosmetics. So not like a full new game plus mode where you keep all of your upgrades, right?
Yeah, totally. It's a cool little update. I want more, obviously.
Yeah.
I always do with kind of stuff like this. I felt like the sort of bells and whistles around this game were kind of lacking at launch. And I know why too, because I interviewed Stig Asmussen, who was like the creative director on the game, and I asked him about the costumes for Cal and BD1. And he said that that's something they added very late in the game. So if you were playing that game and you were wondering why there was just like random treasure chests everywhere that had clothes in them, that's why. Like they were a little late to be added. And so I was hoping they would get more along those lines and get a little bit weirder with it rather than just like ponchos.
Just
Yeah.
with all the different sort of alien costumes in Star Wars. Yeah, there's a lot more they could have done with it, right?
Yeah. Did you?
I don't really care about changing the color of my lightsaber. Like that's
no, me neither. I mean, because eventually, I did towards the end. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm really excited about the Inquisitor Cal edition.
That's cool.
I'm a little bummed about the timing because my girlfriend and I literally restarted the game on Saturday because she's playing through it for the first time, and so we started the new game, so it technically overrode my save. But I'd 100%ed it, so I'm like, this will be fine. I don't need to worry about this game anymore. And then, of course, this comes out. So I'll have to replay through to get that. But I do love that they included Inquisitor Cal and his master, Jaro Tarpal, I believe.
You're just making
the two of them. I mean, Star Wars.
What was his name? Glurban Flurdurbanob?
Darv Melon Baller.
Side note, we rewatched Revenge of the Sith over the weekend, and
oh my gosh.
I realized it's really fun hearing Darth Sidious just call him. He's like, "You're now Darth Vader," and it's like, did he just invent German? The German language? There's no other reason to call him Vader. Anyway, I'm excited to replay a little bit more of the game for these challenges. I think that part will be really fun. But like Brian said, I just want more from this game in this world. Like,
are you playing on PS4?
Yeah, playing on PS4 Pro.
So, obviously, a lot of people's big issues with that game when it first came out were technical. Like, there's a lot of frame rate hiccups, and there were parts where your character would get stuck in an elevator and look like he was sort of like gyrating into hell. Like,
so I never had huge tech hiccups like that. What happened to me was actually a pretty common bug, though, that they had to patch later that prevented me from getting the platinum, where, spoilers for Jedi Fallen Order, there's a point in the game where new enemies start to randomly appear throughout the game, the bounty hunters, and they never appeared in my game. Like, after that moment, they just never appeared, and that was a issue that a bunch of people were running into, and so they had to patch it, because 2 of the trophies are tied to defeating all the different bounty hunters.
That's a bummer because a lot of those fights are super fun.
Yeah, so I'm excited to do them now because I'm going to replay the game at this point. But we were playing a little bit today, and I did notice with the new update some increased frame rate bugginess that I didn't have the first time around. So I wouldn't be surprised if them patching things will lead to another patch to smooth out it. But they've been good about keeping updates.
Seth, did you already play Fallen Order?
I started it. I played it for quite a while, and then I think somebody on Discord wanted me to play PUBG with them, and then I just
so you had to play PUBG. What are you gonna do?
That's actually what happened to J.J. Abrams when he was writing the Rise of Skywalker.
I would like to get back and check out this new stuff in Fallen Order, but I'm currently super deep into Final Fantasy VII Remake, so I don't know that I'll realistically be able to get to that anytime soon.
Justin Perez, who was, I believe, one of the lead combat designers in the game, just left the studio. And you should follow him on Twitter because he's been giving out codes to fans all day for Fallen Order. But I'm interested to see where that franchise goes next because it sounds like they want to keep making more of them. I mean, the second we saw the colon in the title, we kind of knew that this would lead to more sequels. It is interesting, though, in terms of the time period when the game takes place. I hope they can kind of like pick up the pin and drop it somewhere else in the Star Wars universe as well and go play. Because the combat was awesome, and I just want more lightsaber fights.
Yeah, the lightsaber fights. Actually, I like the exploration too. I think that game did very well for EA, so I would expect I expect we'll get a sequel one of these days.
Yeah, and this update is free.
I know. Yeah, it's cool.
Like, way to go, EA.
Yeah,
you can do it.
Another Star Wars game that we got updates on today is a forthcoming one, which is LEGO Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. Which, I'm super excited for. I played LEGO Force Awakens, and it was adorable and super fun. It's been several years now, so I'll totally play Skywalker Saga. How about you guys?
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Star Wars, Lego
Go
Star
ahead,
Wars
Seth.
2 was the first game that we let my son play when he was little. But
Oh,
that's
wow.
Really?
just- yeah, we're like, oh, you know what? You're old enough to play video games. You're gonna play. This is the game that you can play. And he would ask me to help him, and he would just make R2 go off cliffs and die over and over again. He's like, because he liked the sound it made. And now he's he's 16 now. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna play
Lego Star Wars 1 was the first game my parents let me play, and
Wow.
so I have a big memory for it.
Yeah.
No, like the history of like Lego games and Star Wars is so impactful because like that kind of set the tale for all the future TT games, and I
Mhm.
really love that they're doing something new and ambitious and not just repackaging those old games as fun as they were into something new with a new coat of paint. Like this is a really expansive new, pretty in-depth experience from everything we learned back at E3 last year. So I can't wait to play this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they gave us new key art today. I think they confirmed hundreds and hundreds of playable characters. Still waiting on a release date though. Although they did say it's going to be later this year for Xbox One family of devices, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and PC. So no word that it's going to be like straddling, over to next gen consoles.
When we
Yep.
we learned a couple weeks ago, I can't remember how time works anymore, but we learned that the Lego Star Wars The Mandalorian real life set for his Razor Crest ship is going to have a code in it that will give you that ship in the game. And
that's so cool.
that set comes out in September. So presumably the game comes out sometime around then, because it'd be weird to put that stuff out without the
I'm
game.
gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna say holiday 2020.
Ooh.
Holiday 20. That's when the new
Holiday-
consoles are coming out.
What a coincidence! Unbelievable.
Fiscal year 2020. No, I'm incredibly excited for this. It's honestly it's weird that we've heard so little about this game, because every time we do hear about it, I remember that it's very clearly one of my most anticipated games of the year. I'm with you guys in that, like, the original one sort of like defined the Lego games for me. And a big part of that was because unlocking characters in this game meant something to me, because I care about all these stupid weird ass characters. Like when I get Max Rebo in Lego Star Wars, I'm like, yeah, he's great. Or like little gross ass dudes like Snaggletooth. Like I love all these guys. And then I feel like I was trying to recreate that with every Lego game that came afterwards, and it's just not the same for me when I'm playing like Pirates of the Caribbean and I get like sober Jack Sparrow. Yeah. Or like Jurassic World, and you unlock like Jimmy Fallon because he voiced the DNA guy, and like it's just like stupid stuff like that. And the Marvel games I think came the closest
For sure.
Yeah.
in terms of having this sort of like deep bench of just inexplicably weird and stupid characters that you're like Squirrel Girl and stuff like that. And you're like, yeah, I got her. And so I'm really excited for that. And the game's gorgeous. Damon, I played the Lego Force Awakens also, and like it's like the surprising thing about that game is like how good it looks. Like it's almost, because the backgrounds, I believe a lot of them are pre-rendered, and there's this like weird sheen to everything that makes it look like a brand new bag of Legos that you just dumped on the table. And so, yeah, and it's super cool. Like, we were talking about The Last Jedi before. I enjoy that movie, and even if you hate it, like there's a lot of, I don't like Attack of the Clones, but there's a lot of that makes for a fun video game.
Yeah,
and
sure.
so there's going to be a lot of cool stuff in that like we never got a Lego version of The Last Jedi in video game form. I want to milk that blue sea cow.
Well, and this is the perfect opportunity to add all of those characters introduced in Rise of Skywalker every 4 seconds.
Yeah,
It's just playable characters.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah.
Over 1,000 unlockable characters.
Yeah, we're gonna like get a Babu Frick brick or whatever.
Babu Brick.
Babu Brick. There we go.
That's perfect. I'm looking at a list of licensed Lego video games, and there's a couple in here that I'd forgotten about, like Lego Rock Band.
Yeah.
Oh,
What?
my God.
There's
I
a
have
Lego
that.
Rock Band.
It's just Rock Band, but with a Lego aesthetic.
Oh, really?
Like, did it
Yeah.
have its own like track list? Song
Yeah, it
list?
had its own set list that you could import into Rock Band 3. It had like very family friendly stuff. It had like Life is a Highway by Rascal Flatts
Oh,
Yeah.
hell yeah.
and like some Counting Crows songs.
Definitive
Like it was,
version.
yeah.
That's amazing. I had no idea that was a thing.
Okay. Let's move on. Now, Brian, if there's one thing that you like more than Star Wars, it's fantasy, right?
Yes.
You like
Yes.
fantasy stuff.
Yeah, specifically the fantasy that you're about to talk about. It's always been
Yeah.
my fantasy to play an entire video game starring one character from a fantasy movie that I'm not crazy about. But no, get into it.
We're talking about Lord of the Rings Gollum. I think we got the first screenshots today, and I think it's safe to say that no one was too impressed with these screenshots.
Yeah.
Not from reading the comments, and maybe it's because they were positioned as next gen screenshots, and they don't exactly scream next gen when you look at them.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the game where you play as Gollum, and it's a sort of a stealth adventure game. He's creeping around, and then you'll have dialogue choices similar to like you would have in a Telltale game.
Were you guys like, as Lord of the Rings fans? Were you interested in this? Like, is this like a concept that
I'm
like?
It's like I liked
know.
the Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War games.
Me too. I love them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, a game where you're playing as Gollum is a little odd.
Yeah, on the list of like theoretical Lord of the Rings games I would pitch you, this is not like top 5 probably.
Yeah.
No, it's like getting an Oscar the Grouch game. It's like this dude is good. He's good in small doses,
Yeah. I don't know. The art style is a little weird. It's a little cartoony. And then it doesn't look like, when you look at them, you're not like, this looks amazing. The next generation of gaming is going to be incredible.
Finally.
Yeah.
The game that technology allows.
I think that's what kind of like messes it up for me, is it's like there's parts of the screenshots where you're like, this is hyper stylized and artistic, and they're taking some really interesting liberties here to make something that looks different than what we'd expect from this universe. And then there's other parts where you're just like, oh, that just looks like a sort of generic fantasy game. But none of it really screamed like, oh, my console can't handle this, I better buy a new one.
And I don't know, maybe the game will end up being fun. I don't know. It's just, I think these screenshots that were released are a little underwhelming. I don't. It's scheduled for release on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, on PC in 2021. It's based on the books, not the movies, but I actually think it kind of looks like the movies. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
it's weird.
I mean, I kind of get, at least for Gollum, I think that visual version of him is just so ingrained in a lot of people who are fans of that series' minds. And that's definitely like immediately what I think of. That you might even run into like a Marvel's Avengers scenario where if he looked too different or just close, but not exactly, it would have been like, hold on, that's not my Gollum.
Yeah.
Not my Gollum.
Not my Gollum.
It reminds me of like the Funkos that aren't the Pops that Funko makes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what he kind of looks like.
Hold on, I think I have one.
I didn't know there was.
I own like zero Funko anything, but this is the Willy Wonka they made.
Oh
and
yeah.
I see what you're talking about.
Totally.
I didn't know there were pop-free Funkos.
Yeah, Funko makes a lot of other different action figure styles.
Yeah.
Other than just the Pop. The Pop is just the one that you're the most familiar with because there's a Pop for everything. There's a Pop for this episode right now being made.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. They were doing the 4-inch scale like reaction line figures for a while, which is cool because they're basically the same size as like the old Kenner Star Wars toys. But no, I'm with you guys. It's like, it's weird when I think there's ways to do this. Like if you look at like the Witcher TV show, which is based on the books, but is very clearly influenced visually by the video games in a lot of ways, but also distances itself. That's a little different than like the Marvel's Avengers thing that Jonathan brought up, which I think that like that, that video game, you have this uncanny valley thing where you're like, my brain wants me to think that that's Thor, but I know it's not because it looks very realistic, but it doesn't look like Chris Hemsworth Thor. And then this just looks like Gollum from the movie, but cartoony, but it kind of breaks your brain. Yeah.
Anyway, that's coming next year for next gen consoles and PC. We'll see how the Lord of the Rings Gollum game shapes up. Jonathan, let's talk about some PSVR news today. It's interesting. We ran a poll on the site recently that we talked about on our other show, Next Gen Console Watch, where we asked IGN fans what rumored PS5 tech they're most excited for, and they said finger sensing VR controller. That was number one. And then lo and behold, Sony announced that they're working on a finger sensing VR controller.
What powers?
I know, perfect timing. They're watching. It's good to know. But yeah, so they released a new research paper that was discussing the development of a possible new controller that would detect individual finger movements, which is something that we have from other VR units. And there was a video uploaded alongside it that has a like prototype controller. Like this is nothing even close to what you would probably sell on the market, but it essentially shows finger by finger sensitivity. That's a little similar looking to what the Valve Index like has. They didn't say this is for an upcoming PSVR hardware refresh or something that's going to come exactly with PS5, but the implication is pretty clear, especially because they've had patents that we've talked about on Next Gen Console Watch that reference this sort of technology.
Yeah. So is it weird? So it's very similar to what Oculus is using in its controller, right?
Yeah.
Is it weird? Is it weird that Sony published a research paper discussing the development of something that already exists?
I mean, given how Sony's been recently, no.
Okay.
They gave us a PSVR tech talk for an hour that everyone was expecting to tell you what the PS5 will play like, and unless you have like a PhD in some of that technical know-how, you probably didn't understand a lot of it.
No, it reminds me of when Uber was like, we want to work on something that's like a large Uber that fits like 20 people that goes to designated places around the city, and everybody is like, that's a bus. we have the bus already. No, I have an Oculus Quest, and I got the update a couple months ago where it updated to no controllers. Well, you can still use controllers, but it's absolutely surreal to turn that thing on and start navigating the menu using your fingers in a way that like the Kinect promised us we would and made a big deal about, and then we kind of shoved away. The issue now on the Quest is that it works on the UI essentially, but it doesn't really work from game to game without like kind of heavy patchwork, and so you're constantly kind of walled off by it. So I have a feeling if they develop the PSVR 2 from the ground up with this in mind, that'll get developers thinking about using it and integrating it early on, so it won't be like sort of an afterthought. That said, the PSVR, the current gen model one, uses controllers from like literally 11 years ago.
Right.
And like, so the idea of going from PlayStation Move controllers that launched with the PS3 that use, micro USB to switching over to something that doesn't use any controllers at all is incredibly exciting for me. The thing I really want them to steal from Oculus is the no cables thing. Like, just ditch all that.
I was just we were adding some cabinet doors to our TV stand, and the amount of wires that just the PSVR we had to deal with to get it around from the VR headset to the box to the charging cables to the PS4 to the TV. It's just a nightmare of cables, and anything they can do to streamline that process would be ideal. But on top of that, the updating of decade-old controllers is necessary, not just for like PSVR development, but for compatibility with the high-end VR games we are seeing for these other headsets. Like the PSVR is, as much as I love so many of the games for it, it is technologically behind in a lot of ways. So many of those other great VR headsets and stuff like Half-Life Alyx, you just couldn't do the same on a PSVR headset as it stands right now.
It's impossible to get those Move controllers. Like, they're impossible. They're nowhere. You can get them at GameStop used for like $60 for one of them, and it smells like a dorm room. It's terrible.
I will never, ever, ever understand the philosophy behind like launching this cutting edge next gen consumer level headset that will let you VR into the future and experience games like never before, and then tether it not only to these like gigantic anacondas that you have to drag across your living room and connect to your PS4 TV and wall, but also like to have these stupid clown nose sticks that launch we all forgot about.
But Brian, the answer is so obvious. They made millions of them and had to do something with them after the initial Move failed. Like that thing, the original Move idea was made to capitalize on the Wii success, and obviously they were hoping for something a little closer to the Wii than the Move actually was.
I mean, sometimes you just got to cut your losses. You don't see Nintendo being like, "Hey, do you guys want some new shoulder pads? Check out these Wii U game pads. Just buy them, stick them in your arms, go wherever you want. Like, just put them in the landfill next to ET and forget it ever happened."
It's like I don't own PSVR. I don't know. Does it not come with Move controllers? You have to go find your own.
Certain bundles do.
Right, there's
Okay,
certain
wow.
bundles, but those bundles are almost always sold out, and it's also
Yeah.
confusing because some of them will have the camera, some of them will have the camera and the Move controllers, and some of them will just have the headset. So you it's a crapshoot. You never know what you're gonna get. I mean, it just tells you on the box, but
the logic is that like some games can be played with a DualShock 4, but again, why would you want to do that? You know, like
right.
the thing that I love about Oculus is that like the controllers feel much better. It feels like something new and refreshing.
So
yeah, it feels like you're actually playing like something that's revolutionary and that was designed from the ground up to be this cohesive experience. And everything about PSVR feels sort of patchworked. I'm glad that this is a conversation that's happening though, because it means that VR is not just going away for 10 years or 20 years like it did the last time. It means that Sony is confident in continuing to support this philosophy regardless. I mean, the PSVR is the best-selling consumer-level VR headset, but it still has sold less than I believe the Wii U has.
Oh yeah,
and so
yeah.
Not to keep bringing up the Wii U, but
No, it's good.
Mhm.
Is it strange that Sony hasn't talked about its like next gen plans for PSVR?
It's strange that they haven't talked about their next gen plans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they don't want to get too far ahead of where they are. And like the initial wired reveal of the PS5, like that first time, that's where they mentioned PSVR and they were like, PS5 will be backward compatible with it. It will support VR functionality, but we're not talking about what comes next. And I think it's very clear that they are going to release a PSVR 2, but probably not for at least a year into the release, like the life of the PS5. So I just think it's something that they don't want you to forget they're doing, but also don't want to tell you they're doing because marketing.
Yeah. Going by their like recent output, I think they'll probably like put up an animated GIF on Imgur or some shit and be like, "Here it is, PSVR 2. It's the most liked video game Imgur post."
Did they give a new release date to the Thor, or I'm sorry, the Iron Man VR game?
No,
No.
not yet. So when
Isn't that weird?
When they announced The Last of Us and Ghost release date moves, we reached out and they said expect news in the coming weeks. Granted, coming weeks is a vague enough term that it could mean literally this week because this is the week after it happened, or it could mean 10 weeks from now. I don't know. But my guess is we'll probably hear something before the summer really gets in full swing. But yeah, it's a bummer we haven't heard much because that is like the flagship remaining PSVR game.
Yeah, I guess. Go ahead.
I was gonna say PSVR is in a kind of a weird place right now because the Quest sort of showed me that you can just have it in your head, like you don't need anything at all. You can just have this one thing. So I mean, they might wait a year to put this thing out, and it's already been eclipsed by the Quest 2 or something else.
That's
even
true.
cooler.
Yeah. No, I'll be totally honest with you. I was doing the same thing Jonathan was doing recently, which is like I think a lot of us are. We're spring cleaning and looking behind now that we're home more, we're like, oh crap, there's like a giant nest of wires behind my TV. And I went and I pulled out my PSVR and I realized the same thing. There's 100 different cables and I disconnected it and I was like, I'll deal with this later. And then I reconnected everything except for the PSVR and I was like, maybe I'll just not put that. Maybe I'll hook it back up when Iron Man comes out. But yeah, whereas the Quest is just in a drawer and I can pop it on my head whenever.
Right.
Yeah.
You know who loves PSVR cables? Yeah, that's my Roomba. Every day.
Did you get your Roomba through an IGN deal?
I actually did. Yeah.
I mean, that's just smart thinking.
Yeah, it was like $30. Great.
Okay, let's move on to our next story. Has everyone watched Tiger King?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
No.
You haven't watched it, Jonathan?
Nope, and I never will. I do not care.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Is there any like any serious reason for it, or it just doesn't?
No, I
seem
just
interesting?
the second everyone
Don't
started
like
talking
tigers?
about it, I really hate tigers. That's really what it comes down to. No, I saw the trailer. It didn't interest me. Like I hear, the exciting things about the story, but I don't want to watch it right now, and I don't intend to. Like I don't expect myself to be in the mood to watch it.
Sure.
That said, what we're about to talk about, I probably will watch.
I was gonna say, would you watch a dramatization of it starring Nicolas Cage?
I will, because it's being made by the people who made American Vandal, and that is one of the best Netflix originals.
So good.
I will happily watch anything they do.
That one I haven't watched. I haven't watched American Vandals, but I hear great things.
Man, watch both seasons.
It's so good. Yeah.
It's incredible. Yeah, if you had told me they were making a Tiger King series with Nick Cage, I would have thought that this was April 1st, not
not May the 4th.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the weird thing is that this is his Nicolas Cage has said yes to literally any movie that has been put in front of him for like I believe the last 25 years. And I can't tell if like there's a lot of actors that we grew up watching that are now in this sort of just like free-spirited, borderline drunk driving, reckless phase of their lives. I'm talking about guys like Bruce Willis and Steven Seagal.
Yeah.
And like you can't tell like do they owe the mafia money and that's why they keep making movies. But with Nicolas Cage, I think he just like really enjoys making weird stuff. Like, you know, he did Mandy and he did Color Out of Space and like a bunch of other like bizarre, bleak dystopian sci-fi movies that are fun as hell. And so this is a weird choice for him because this is based on the most popular documentary in human history. Right. But I think what's bizarre about this specifically is that there are now, I believe, 3 concurrent like sort of movie or TV adaptations of the Tiger King documentary, not including the Tiger King documentary spin-off, which is going to sort of explore whether or not Carol Baskins killed her husband.
And ground him
I feel like you can tell that one in 5 minutes.
Because of the weird like logistics around adapting real life stories, none of them are technically like in partnership with the documentary, at least by like Netflix.
Yeah.
And this Cage show is based on an article.
Yeah. It's the easiest way to get around. I've seen this happen when they're competing like documentary versions of something. A lot of them will be like, we're based on this book or based on this novel.
Right.
This happened with Ryan Murphy when he was doing American Crime Story, and that was a big thing. They would be like, specifically, it's based on the way these events were told in this novel, so that any similar projects couldn't get mad.
Man, yeah, that. I mean, this feels like it was. I'll put it this way. I hope everyone's getting paid because it seems like a lot of people got done dirty by this documentary. Like pretty much half of the people involved were like, hey, that wasn't fair. But then a lot of them also were on camera being like, yeah, I like to feed tigers garbage that they throw away at Walmart. And the like a guy shirtless with no teeth. He's like, I don't like how they depicted me. It's like, well, you have clothes, right?
To Jonathan's point about not being interested in it, like I watched the whole thing, I was riveted, but it's definitely like it leaves you feeling kind of dirty afterwards.
Yeah.
Like it's trash TV for sure.
Yeah,
that's just kind of why I'm not in the mood. And like, hey, don't get me wrong, I've definitely watched trash TV before, but just like what I've heard of like the depictions and just the way what the source material is and what went on, I'm just not in the mood to watch that right now.
Yeah. But I guess my question is like, you know, I watched the whole thing. Like, do people now also want to watch a dramatization where like
yes.
But like no one's gonna be like weirder or more fascinating than the real people. Like it's already there, and we already know what happened. So it's like
watch American Vandal.
Well, okay.
So my thing with this is I think the best approach is to sort of take kind of I, Tonya with it, where you take a real case that was very horrible, but also like the butt of many jokes, and you turn it into this sort of like fourth wall breaking faux documentary. The difference with that is that I, Tonya came out like 45 years after Tanya Harding hit Nancy Kerrigan in the leg with a golf club or whatever. Right. And so this feels like they're really just like wringing out that towel and getting all the water out of it while people are still excited for it. Like, I did the same thing as you, Damon. I watched that documentary and like my takeaway was like, I'm really surprised at how little this was about how dangerous tigers are. It was mostly just like people are bad, tigers are cheap. And it's like that. No, don't tell them that. And so there's like multiple concurrent versions of this show in the works now. So we'll see.
Over in the chat, Forchi poses the question: out of Seth, Brian, Jonathan, and Damon, who would be the best to play Joe Exotic? I'm gonna have to say Seth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with you.
Like yeah. I mean, the whole time I was
You got the part.
this whole time I was
Mhm.
watching the documentaries, like I would party with everybody. Like I used to party with guys like this, so like whatever, man. Let's
Yep.
do it. Strap a 6-shooter to my side and get me a sequined Garth Brooks shirt to wear
Dude.
around.
You live in the area where I think like the most space to fit exotic
Yeah.
animals.
That is true.
The rest of us are in apartments in a major city, so I think it would be a little harder for us to like hide a cougar.
Yeah, so we'll see whenever this dramatization with Nick Cage arrives. Obviously, nothing can go into production right now, so I'd imagine this is gonna be a ways off. But in other news today that I just don't know, if I believe it is Sylvester Stallone revealed that a sequel to Demolition Man is in the works. And the reason why I'm a little skeptical is because this news comes from a Q&A on Instagram where someone asked him about it and he says, I think it is coming. We're working on it right now with Warner Brothers and it's looking fantastic. So that should come out. That's going to happen. So to me, that's like, what? Is it?
That sounds like the movie's made and just ready to
is
go.
there a script for this? Is there a director? Has anything been shot? Has it been cast? Like, where is this movie? I don't know.
I'm way more interested in whatever train wreck this ends up being over like the 17th Rambo movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or like another Rocky. Like this is a much better universe to return to. This is like well, first of all, when did the original take place? Have we reached that paleofuturism where we've eclipsed?
We are currently 12 years away from when Demolition Man is set.
Oh wow.
It's
so we
like
haven't gotten there
2032.
yet.
Yeah.
So it could all still happen.
We're close. Wait, in real life?
Yeah.
Everything would become a utopia with no violence in 12 years? I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's the least believable part of that movie. I mean, I think the like social distancing via VR headsets to make love, and
That's
then
true.
there's no toilet paper.
Right.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know where Taco Bell winning the fast food wars would land on our
I
spectrum.
mean, they already have, so.
In my heart, yeah.
I just don't know. Like the whole premise of the first movie is that Stallone is a like fish out of water cop because he was like frozen for however many years and thawed out in the year 2032 and everything's different. So what are they gonna do that again?
You just keep freezing them and waking them up.
Now it's 2062 and everything's different again. Like I don't know.
What was
He's a
the
real
last
old
thing?
man.
Yeah, what was the last movie Wesley Snipes was in?
He's in Dolomite Is My Name.
Oh man,
Oh,
that
yeah,
movie is fantastic.
That movie's great.
Oh, that's right. He is in that movie.
And
Yeah.
he appears remotely
really
in What We Do in the Shadows, the TV show.
That's
another
right.
thing
Yeah.
I haven't seen.
That's
Very
right.
good.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, if they make it'd be really funny if they make a movie that takes place in the future, but it's really like 2022.
It's been a long time since I've seen Demolition Man. How about you guys?
Yeah,
Or
Yeah.
have you seen it?
forever ago.
Jonathan,
Yeah.
have you seen it?
I watched it by accident because my dad left it on when he fell asleep one night when I was a kid, so I just stayed up and watched the rest of it.
Hmm.
So it's been a
I-
while.
The coolest
want-
way to watch Demolition.
I want to revisit it.
Mm-hmm. I do too. After this conversation, I can't imagine like before this having that been like part of my sort of film curriculum to fall back on multiple times a year. Like it's not like I put on Die Hard with a Vengeance the other day just because it's like comfort food. That's an awesome movie. I can't really see
Oh my
myself
gosh.
being like,
I watched that the other day too.
really?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I don't agree that it's a very good Die Hard movie.
Really?
It's like it's just no, it didn't work for me.
Well, you know
Um,
what's interesting? I will say I used to put that sort of neck and neck with the original, and I don't anymore. I think the original has held up better. But I think it has the best cold open of any movie ever, which is they're playing that song.
Explosion.
Yeah, they're like "Hot Time, Summer in the City," and then all of a sudden they just blow up. It's
Yeah, that
great.
part's fine. But it's like John McClane, he's totally not likable in that movie.
No.
But he is in the first movie.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
no,
They missed that part of it.
In the third movie, he's very Han Solo in Return of the Jedi, where he's like literally hungover the entire time and doesn't want to be there, and is constantly reminding you. Like John McClane, I think he eats like 60 Advil in that movie.
Yeah.
Like it's super weird because when I was a kid, I was like, what is he doing? Like you're supposed to, like, if you have a beer at dinner, you're supposed to wake up and have like just handfuls of pills in the back of a bus and then go to Harlem with a sign on. It's weird.
I like, in the beginning, the police chief's like, get McClane on the phone, find what rock he's crawling under and kick it over. It's like, in what world are police officers like on payroll, just out there doing whatever? No one knows where they are, what they're doing. I don't know, man. I also don't like when movies undo the progress of the prequels. So like in the first movie, it's all about him and his wife, sort of reconciling, and they're still together in the second one at least. But then in the third one, it's just like, no, they're just apart again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
It is the best part of the Die Hard trilogy game on PlayStation 1.
With a Vengeance is?
Yes.
Is that are you in a car in that part?
Yes, that's the
driving section.
Yeah, slow down. We're going back in time.
Have I told you guys my pitch for the perfect Batman movie? It's basically Die Hard with a Vengeance, but with Batman and Robin instead of Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. And Jeremy Irons is the Riddler, and he's leaving puzzles all over town for the boys to solve, or they'll die.
I like that, actually.
Just putting it out there in case anybody's watching.
Let me green light that.
Liam in the chat is asking if any of us are Westworld fans.
I completely skipped this season. Should I watch it?
I've been watching it. I'm enjoying it. I don't think it's like must-watch TV, not must-see TV, but I'm enjoying it. It's less convoluted than season 2 got, for sure.
That's good, because that got to be a lot. I don't know what happened there. I think that show lost me in the second season. There was like this portal that opened up and a bunch of dudes started jumping through, and I was like,
yeah.
Was that Seinfeld gif where he gets up and leaves the play?
Yeah. Like, okay. All right. Okay. Demolition Man 2 is available to stream on Hulu, Showtime, and Amazon Prime. And speaking of Amazon, today, the New Mutants movie, which has not been released and was actually delayed indefinitely, showed up for pre-order on Amazon.
Hey, there you go.
Just put it out finally. To die.
I know. It's crazy because this movie was originally supposed to come out in 2018.
Yep.
April 2018, delayed to August 2019, then to April 3rd, 2020, and then delayed indefinitely because of the ongoing pandemic. And now it's just showed up for pre-order on Amazon. Which
there was a rumor for a little while that they were removing all instances of any characters saying the word mutant in the movie because of everything going on with the Fox Marvel universe stuff. I don't know if that has landed. Just drag and drop this trash film, The Crackle, and get it over with. The idea of like putting all of these actors in this movie on a a Zoom Skype press tour to talk about this thing that they made that they shot in 2016, 2017.
If you look at the trailers now, Maisie Williams looks so much younger than she does at the end of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
That's great.
I don't get it.
It's like if you had to do a bunch of interviews about freshman year in high school, you'd be like, I don't remember that crap. Get out of here.
Also, it's very clearly like not meant to matter anymore because Disney's going to do whatever they want with the mutants in the MCU at some point. So like, just put it out there. Just say it's a fun, weird horror movie and release it. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, it is rated R.
Oh, wow. No. The good news is you don't get charged for pre-orders until it ships. So you may never.
It may never.
But I think this is it would be like available to stream situation.
Oh, well, I mean, you don't get charged through Amazon until it's available, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Or it might be a surprise.
I've had less than zero interest in this movie, and it's actually decreased more and more. But I'm on the Wikipedia page for the first time in my life, and I have to say that this sentence, Maisie Williams is a Scottish mutant who can turn into a wolf and is struggling to reconcile with this and her religious beliefs, has sold me on this film more than anything else has. That sounds amazing.
I think it's super telling that Disney like based on this listing, is going to sell this movie to people for rent or buy. But for Artemis Fowl, which was supposed to come out in theaters this year, like that was a major Disney produced release. They're like, nah, we're just gonna put it on Disney Plus. Like they very clearly expect to still make money off of this movie somehow.
I mean, I just want to know what her religious beliefs are that she can't be a wolf. I don't remember that part of the Bible.
That's one of the 10 commandments.
Oh, it is. Thou shalt not be a wolf.
Be a wolf.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's number 7.
It's the secret. Maybe commandment.
Maybe she goes to night church a lot, and it's like it could flare up.
Yeah, you remember that 80s
night church?
Night church.
Night church.
The saxophone. Aren't there like movie theaters that have reopened in Texas or something? They could just put New Mutants out there.
I think Georgia reopened.
Something to go see in movie theaters.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah, I remember every time I read all those stories, they're like, they're opening up movie theaters again. I'm like, to show what? Like, what are you guys getting this weekend? Nothing's opening up.
I got a survey, an email survey from Alamo Drafthouse today, where they're sort of like gauging people's interest and comfort level with going back to theaters. And they said that when Alamo Drafthouse at least reopened, they're going to be limiting capacity and keeping seats in between people. Mm-hmm. So they're going to require you to spend at least $20 on food and drink in addition to your ticket. I thought that was interesting. And to be fair, they've got great booze, great cocktails and beers and stuff at Alamo. So I always spend more than $20. But I just thought that was
me too. No, I mean.
The idea of having an empty seat on either side of you sounds phenomenal. That just sounds wonderful.
I'd pay the extra $20 for that.
Stretch right out.
I mean, it does, but like, who was in that seat before? like, it's not like this virus doesn't just work where you're like, I can see it. Like it's like if you look to the left and right of you and you don't see anybody, you're not like, well, it's time to kiss everything. Like it doesn't work like that. Like
speak for yourself.
It's another thing. It's gonna be a lot of teens with stiff necks from trying to smooch during those makeout movies across an empty seat.
You know what? They're gonna have to figure that out anyway. That's a big part of adolescence is trying to smooch with a stiff neck in the weird back of a car in the seat. It's not supposed to be easy.
Right, that's true.
You know, you gotta work for it. So if you go see a movie at like 3:00, how do you know that like there wasn't some guy at noon watching New Mutants with COVID or whatever?
Right, just
in the same seat, and you're expecting theater workers like high school kids to come in who make $5 a year and they're going to wipe all the chairs down.
I trust Alamo much more to do that than I do like AMC.
That's true.
Yeah,
that is definitely true.
Before everything closed down, Alamo had sent out emails about like when they were still able to be open about how they were having like full clean downs in between every movie. Like they were showing less movies in order to do that. I trust them to make that happen.
Me too. Yeah. Their entire business model is that they genuinely care about cinema and the experience around it. So I appreciate that. That said, I honestly, I was talking about this with people. I cannot see myself going to see a movie in theaters this year. Like it would have to take like a major, there would have to, a lot of factors would have to work into play, and it definitely won't be for something like the New Mutants. You know, like that would not be a great sort of deathbed conversation. Was it worth it? No. I mean, she's a wolf and she has to go to church.
It was a whole new take on mutants, like I'd never seen before.
Cannonball is an American mutant who can propel himself in the air, and he's invulnerable the whole time. Remember him? He's right up there with Wolverine.
Well, as of right now, there's nothing to go see in theaters this year.
Yep.
Right? Didn't everything get postponed? Delayed?
Pretty much.
Next Tenet is still supposed to come out in July.
Oh wow!
Which is, I was reading about that. Nolan was basically like, I value the theater experience, and we're like, yeah, we all do, man. But like, sort it out, because like,
just wait 6 months.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah. Well, that about brings us to the end of this jaunty little edition of News, Games, and More. Thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. We will be back the same time tomorrow, same channel, to talk about all the hot news that develops overnight and during the next day. And make sure you tune in to our live broadcast of the Inside Xbox Game Preview event this Thursday, May 7th at 7:30 a.m. Pacific. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Seth. Thank you to our producers working behind the scenes. Everybody have a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.